gratitude is it's one of the steps we do in our affirmative prayer technique, spiritual mind treatment. And it's an element within that for a purpose. And the purpose is to recognize gratitude as a way of creating a sense of trust in the creative process. So that when you do a prayer treatment, and we follow the steps, and I know all of you haven't been schooled in that yet, but you can go to class, and we do services on it, and there's books in the bookstore that tell you how to do it. But the first step being recognition of the nature of spirit, the nature of the reality in which we live, and that reality is one that is infinite, that is fully present and fully available. That the belief system would be that there's nothing in the universe withholding from you. Now that may take a little work, okay, to get to that realization where you can do that prayer step and really and honestly and truly feel that that's so. That's why we do it in every treatment, and we do it to build the consciousness over time that we do live in a universe that we can depend upon to be fully available. And the second step is that I am one with that universe, that I am not alien to it, I'm not separate from it, that the same qualities within me exist in that which created me. Because really, think about it, how can you be different from that which created you? So none of us are all of God, but we're all a part of God. So therefore, I am operating within a reality, within a system that we call the universe or reality that is like me. It's where I belong, like a fish belongs in water. So I shouldn't feel alienated from the reality around me, because when I do, it's not true, and it limits my ability to accept. And the third step we usually call realization, and that has to do with, here's what I'm praying for. Here's what I'm saying I would like to have in my life in a greater way or in a new way. And it could be anything from a health issue to a new car to whatever. But see, the first two steps help to build the foundation. When I know that God is and I am, then the third step, what I'm doing, I'm not really asking for anything. I'm demanding it. I'm saying it's mine. I'm claiming it. See, in the word ask in the old days, in early English, when the root of that word was something that the king did. The king would ask for something, but nobody thought it was a request. You see, when you asked for something, you asked with your authority, and you expected it to be fulfilled. So that's what we do in this kind of a prayer system, in this scientific affirmative prayer. I'm making a demand on a lawful universe. So when I say this is what I'm treating for, I'm declaring that it's mine. See, the only mind I have to change is my own. Don't have to convince Spirit of anything. Spirit has already provided. So all I have to do is get myself into a place where I can say, yes, this is mine, and there's nothing in the universe to keep that from being so. So I make that declaration that, yes, this is mine. And then the next step is gratitude for what I have not yet physically received. Now, usually you don't say thank you till somebody does something for you or gives you something, right? Usually we see gratitude as something that follows the reception of something. But in this process of how we use gratitude in the prayer treatment process, gratitude is used as a creative energy. I am so certain that what I demanded is coming that I'm already grateful. And when I can truly be in that consciousness, what does that do? That says I trust the creative process to work the way I know it works. And in the final step, we release it by saying, I'm turning this over to the creative process, what we would call the law, that part of spirit that is the mechanical law that corresponds to our consciousness. And I'm not going to worry about it anymore. Doesn't mean I'm not going to think about it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to take action toward it. It just means it's not something I'm going to be concerned about, because concern implies doubt, and doubt implies I don't trust. And I know that the more I doubt, the less I get. So gratitude becomes an essential element in this psychological process that we have that we call spiritual mind treatment or prayer, that allows us to create a belief system that is accepting our good. Now, this is a structural way of doing it. But, everything you've got in your life, you got this way. You got by the way that you used your mind to create a belief system about what you would accept and say yes to. There's no other way to bring things into manifestation in our experience except by means of the way we think and feel that creates beliefs, and then the world looks like we believe it to look. I mean, gosh, was anybody paying attention to the election we just had? Well, after the election, you could see that everybody didn't respond in the same way. Did you notice? And there weren't just two ways of responding. There were thousands and thousands of ways of responding to what this situation, this circumstance means. Because we all decided what it meant based on what we currently believe. Our world, your worldview is basically your beliefs. So you project your worldview onto circumstances and you say, this means this because this is how I see the world. So we've got some people that are ecstatically happy and some people that are signing secession petitions. And a lot of stuff in between. And they all believe that they're seeing the world accurately, that they're rational, reasonable people. And probably none of us are. Really. None of us are really rational. We're not. Because we're all, your beliefs may be closer to what a consensus would call as rational than others, but it doesn't make you rational. It means you're still operating out of your beliefs. So what the truth about gratitude says in our teaching is that gratitude should be part of every thought about every situation or circumstance. That I should be grateful for maybe the people in my life that I consider to be my enemies. I know, it's tough. That I should be grateful for those that I consider have harmed me or wounded me. That I should be grateful for all the stupid stuff I've done. Why? Because the nature of the universe is, and this is something else that a lot of us don't get, the nature of the universe is that no matter what is happening, I am always in a space of opportunity to transform it into something better. And another truth that seems to be so, it's not the only way to do it, but you can grow from joy, but many of us don't grow unless things get tough. We don't tend to grow from comfort. When things are going really well, you just kind of tend to sit still. Because you're afraid, if I do something, it might get worse. I might lose what I got. Right? Or you say, hey, things are pretty good. Why should I bother? And then something happens, and all of a sudden you're knocked off balance, you're knocked off kilter because of the expectations you had of what was going on weren't necessarily so. And you either let it spiral you down into some negative space, or you say, okay, now I obviously need to make some changes. How can I grow out of this affirmatively? That second one is usually the minority position, by the way. Really? Right? Am I right? So what if I begin, as soon as I kind of recover from the emotional set, I begin with the awareness, what, I need to be in great gratitude for this, so what does that look like? And what does that mean that follows it out? Now, not right away. I mean, when you have an emotional hit, you need to be with the emotions for a while. You know, sometimes in metaphysics, people will come up to you, you know, like right after someone close to you has died, and you'll say, oh, they're not really dead and you're really okay. How are you going to grow from this? And you just want to punch them in the nose. Because that's inappropriate. You know. But what you're doing with yourself is giving yourself time to grieve, and any loss requires grieving. And then once the grieving is beginning to bottom out, then you begin to move into a space of, okay, let me learn from this, let me grow from this, let me move towards something else. But if I don't have the sense of gratitude as part of my toolkit, then I may forget to do that. Whoops, that went quick. Dr. Holmes said, in everything give thanks. An attitude of gratitude is most salutary and bespeaks the realization that we are now in heaven. We are now in heaven. Gratitude is one of the chief graces of human existence and is crowned in heaven with a consciousness of unity. Now, we believe that heaven and hell are present tense states of mind, not places you go later. That you can live right today. Some of you are sitting here in heaven, and some of you are sitting here in hell, and some of you are in limbo. Which is just kind of a void, you know. You're not really in either one, or you got a toe in each. And it depends on what you have for lunch, which way you tip, or what your football team does, you know. But if we recognize that I live in heaven or I live in hell based on my attitude, based on how I look at things, based on how I give meaning to things, then what does that do? That recognizes my own power in the situation. That I'm always at choice. And the choice may not be to be joyful when something terrible happens, but the choice can be to say, okay, something happened. It's not bigger than me, because nothing is. If I'm still here, it wasn't bigger than me. Therefore, I'm bigger than it. Therefore, I can bring to bear something that's going to lead to something better out of this. Before I came here this morning, Dorian and I stopped at Westlake to present the plaque and the letter, which is on the back wall there, for Caitlin, my daughter's school in Malawi that was built in her honor after she was killed. And that's an example, if you will, of something good that can come out of something that isn't so good. That there was a recognition that she was involved in that project, that she had been one of the people that helped get it started, and it was very important to her. So the idea, it wasn't my idea, somebody had an idea, why don't we encourage people to dedicate a school to her and encourage people to donate, and that's what happened. And I have to tell you, when I first heard the idea, it was like, because I wasn't in a space to hear it. You know, but then I got to realize, yeah, that would be a good thing. That would be somebody else. There were other ideas too, and you know, it was really about, to me, it was about not trying to create something that would replace the loss, but trying to recognize what would be consistent with who she was. You know, so that was a project that came out of that, and there was good done. There are thousands of kids that are benefiting from that particular school. You know. So you could look back and say, well, gee, there's a good thing that came out of that. But also, there are people that were, you know, the question is, when we lose someone like that, what are our options? You know? And it's not like there's ever 100% healing from it. You know, it's never okay. But, on the other hand, you learn to go forward, and you learn to go forward in part because of you recognize the gift that we all have, the ones that are still here. And why waste that? You know? So I've said this before, but one of the benefits of being in this teaching for me when that occurred was I learned that my grief had a bottom. That I could fully grieve and not be afraid of falling into despair. And therefore, I was able to kind of get out of the grief cycle maybe a little more quickly. You know, and go forward in a more positive way more quickly than I would have otherwise. Or maybe I never would have gone forward. You see people whose lives are destroyed by something like that, but that's not because the death occurred. That's because the person whose life it is didn't have the tools to go forward. Because that too is a choice. And people will say all the time, I can't imagine what it would be like. No, you can't. You don't want to. But on the other hand, it's not the biggest tragedy that ever happened. And there will be more. It's just part of life. So I'm grateful that she was in my life. I'm grateful that she was the person she was. I'm grateful that good has come out of her passing. And I'm very sad that she's gone. And such is life. So gratitude helps to make it better. Okay. Now we can look at gratitude as we did in the meditation. Gratitude in the now moment, I think, is always easy because when you really get into that quiet space, you realize I don't need anything. Right this second, I don't need anything. I may have a big thing I need for tomorrow. I may have something I wish I'd have done yesterday, but right now, I'm good for this instant in time. But you can also project that gratitude backward, and you can project it forward. In the prayer treatment process, we project it forward, being grateful for what we anticipate based on what we have just done in mind. But I think it's important to do all three because what keeps me from projecting it forward often is I'm stuck on something that happened in the past. I'm stuck on a grudge, or I'm stuck on feeling betrayed or wounded or a loss that I haven't resolved. And as and from that consciousness, as I look forward, I say, well, what's the point? It probably won't work out then either. So I cripple my future because I haven't resolved my past. One of the things we talk about quite a bit is, there's a quote from Jesus in the New Testament. It says, "Behold, I make all things new." That Christ consciousness idea, that idea of the divine within, that is always fully available. That every potential that you could possibly express in your life is right there for you. And by the consciousness that you create, by the way you think and feel and design your belief system, you pluck from that full range of potential what matches your consciousness, and everything else stays there as potential. So it's kind of like when you go to the grocery store, are you buying things that are nutritious and good for you, or you're buying things that are going to do you harm? We're all mourning the Twinkie today. I'm missing the ho-hos a little more. That was my childhood memory, but when we think about that, somebody was putting it seems to be some kind of a dispute about what is causing this calamity for this company to go out of business. And to me, it probably has something to do with obsolete products in an increasingly health-conscious world, but that's just me. And I don't mean they should go out of business. I just think it's kind of like the natural sort of thing. I think it may be a good sign, although that may not be what it's about. I don't know. But it's interesting. The point is, are you buying Twinkies? And today, when I was a kid, people thought they were good for you. When somebody put up an ad, I think it was Paulette Jones put up an ad the other day on Facebook. It was a Coca-Cola ad, and it was, "Are you giving your baby Coca-Cola?" You know, because when I was a kid, I used to get Coca-Cola syrup when I was sick. You could buy the syrup separate, and it had medicinal value. It was considered to settle a stomach or whatever, right? Am I right? Yeah. Yeah. Now, you go on Facebook, if you drink soda, you'll die within the week. No, if that was true, I probably drank 25,000 Coca-Colas before I was 20. I'm serious. I always had a Coke in my hand. And here I am. So, well, if you put a razor blade in a Coke, it'll go away. And somebody put that on. I said, well, where do you find a razor blade today, for one thing? And, and the other thing is, if that was true, everybody that drank all that Coke would disappear. And yet here I am. I don't drink it anymore. I've gotten more intelligent. We have new awareness. But it's interesting how hysterical we get. So, but getting back to the point, when I'm in the supermarket, what choices am I making about the fuel I put into my body? Knowing what we know today about health. And it's not that you never, Wayne Dyer said, it's not you never have a chocolate fudge sundae, just not every day. Make it a special occasion, because the human body is incredibly adaptable and incredibly powerful. We shouldn't be afraid of our food. We should be conscious and intelligent about our food. You see? So what choices am I making? And the problem is, if I look back on my life and I feel shame or I feel guilt about how I've treated myself, I might go ahead and make bad choices again, because it's how I see who I am. So that's why it's important to go back and do that work, do that forgiveness work, so I can change the shame to gratitude. Maybe I'm grateful for the addictions I had in the past because they helped me to get to a place where I realized I could live without them. Maybe I'm grateful that I mistreated people in the past because it helped me to learn how to be compassionate, rather than just being in that place of I'm not any good. So it all ties in, So we can do a little exercise. You could do a little exercise about something I'm grateful for in the past that maybe I hadn't been before. Maybe it's something you would obviously be grateful for. Something I'm grateful for now, in the present, and something I'm grateful for that I know I'm bringing into my life. And just focus on those three things. So I might say, I'm grateful that I had my daughter Caitlin in my life. I'm grateful that I have this ministry at Simi Valley today because it's so nourishing to me. And I'm grateful that I am expanding my capacity for compassion in the future. And then, since we're a supportive group, as I say to those things, you would simply say, and so it is. So let's try that. I'm not yet. Randy, I'm grateful for you. And so it is. So I would say, I'm grateful I had my daughter Caitlin in my life. I'm grateful I have this wonderful ministry in Simi Valley. And I'm grateful I'm learning to be more compassionate in the future. Okay, so let's have some people come up and do that, and everybody will support them. Who wants to go first? Come on up, Linda. Linda Legman. Okay, so share something you're grateful for in the past.
I am grateful for having a wonderful mother and father and sister growing up.
And so it is.
And I'm grateful for still having a fabulous relationship with my sister because my parents are gone.
And so it is.
And I'm grateful for the future that I have with Rob.
And so it is. Okay. Somebody else? Come on up, Jim. Okay.
I'm grateful for my wonderful parents that I had growing up. They're no longer with me.
And so it is.
I'm grateful for the family that I have, my children, my grandchildren, and all the things that we do together.
And so it is.
And I'm grateful for my future with Adrian.
And so it is. All right. Well, let's see if Adrian agrees with you. Come on up. Not ready. Okay, anybody? Come on up. Just come up. You can get a couple people in line if you want. We don't, save time. Come on, honey, hurry. We got dead air here. Say your name.
I'm Diane.
Okay.
I'm grateful for you.
Thank you.
grateful.
Am I in the past?
I'm grateful for the center.
Okay, and so it is.
I'm grateful for my family.
And so it is.
I'm grateful for my son.
And so it is.
I'm grateful for AA.
Okay. How about for the future? Something in the future that you're anticipating bringing into your life? Haven't thought about that?
In the future.
Yeah. What are you focusing on improving in your life or increasing right now in your spiritual
more
work?
joy, more peace of mind.
Okay. And
Be
so
more
it is.
connected to people.
And so it is. All right. Okay, we have the idea. So now what I want you to do is pair up with somebody. It doesn't have to be someone you came with. And just do that for each other. The first person share what 3 things they're grateful for, and the other person affirm simply, and so it is. And then do it with another person. So do it with 3 people. Get up and do it. Am I on? Yeah. Okay, let's complete the one you're on, and then we'll go back to our seats. Okay. And this concludes the interactive portion of our service. So it's nice to affirm that gratitude, and it's nice to be affirmed. So that can be something you can do if you have someone in your life that would share your spiritual practice with you, is to affirm one another in what it is that you are grateful for. It can be a nice exercise to do around the dinner table on Thursday, before everybody really gets loaded, or or I don't know how your family is, but or whatever. But it's just because after they're loaded, it gets kind of. So Dr. Holmes says the attitudes of praise and thanksgiving not only lighten the consciousness, lifting it out of sadness and depression, they elevate consciousness to a point of acceptance. So the key here is really about learning to accept life as it is, as it has been, and recognizing that through that acceptance, we are then able to elevate our experience of life to a higher plane. But as long as I'm not accepting what is, as long as I'm not accepting what has been, I'm saying that shouldn't have happened, it couldn't have happened, whatever the case may be, then I keep myself down in that plane of vibration. So it's about saying, you know what, it happened, I'm done with it. In the Bible it says many times, it came to pass. And it comes to pass, and let it pass. The problem is we hang on to it. We want revenge, or we want to, we think that that's how the world works, and it doesn't. The Chinese have a wonderful saying, he who seeks vengeance should dig 2 graves. Because by holding those grudges, by holding those old wounds, you harm yourself more than the other. So it really is about being free and light, about letting go of the baggage, and just letting yourself go forward into life unencumbered by old wounds. We all have them, but they don't need to be carried forward anymore. Put them down. So that can be a focus this week as you focus on Thanksgiving with all the preparation. There's lots going on. And this is a season when the whole purpose of this season is really about getting yourself consciously ready for a new year. And we begin with gratitude. We recognize what we're grateful for. And building up gratitude lets us get to a point where we can move into planning for the new and celebrating who we are and where we're going without being encumbered by the old baggage. And gratitude helps us to lift that up, to move into a place of trust. What if you really trusted the universe? You didn't doubt that when you said something you're bringing into your life that it would happen. You didn't think there would be some external power that would keep it from you. What if you really got that? Well, you can work on doing that. So that's what this week's assignment is. Okay, and then we have a wonderful, I do encourage you to attend the Thanksgiving Eve service if you're able to. It's over at St. Jude's in Westlake. There's about 20 different clergy from all different faiths involved. Reverend Maggie will be participating for us. Dorian and I are going to New York for the weekend to see our daughters. And next Sunday I'll be speaking in, that's great. Yeah. And next Sunday I'll be speaking in Montclair, New Jersey at one of the centers that was affected by the storm. So we'll be spending some time with them. And then we're going down to Baltimore for a few days to see my family and some friends. And we'll be back the following Thursday, right? And Reverend Maggie will be speaking next Sunday. Okay, so let's be grateful. Thank you, and namaste.